Dr. Eva Hornung, ki je zaposlena v mestni knjižnici v Dublinu, se nam bo pridružila preko Zooma, predavanje bo v angleškem jeziku in predstavila nam bo izzive in pomen stalnega strokovnega razvoja v knjižnicah z enim knjižničarjem ter poudarila prilagojene in fleksibilne modele učenja. Njeno delo raziskuje, kako knjižničarji razvijajo svoje kompetence v okoljih z omejenimi viri. Hi Eva, can you hear us?
No, yes I can. Hello, Tony. Can you hear me?
Yes, the stage is yours.
Yes, hey. Good. Do you want me to start?
Yes.
All good with you, Eva?
Yes, all good. Do you want me to start?
Yes, you can start now.
Okay, thank you. Hello everybody, and good morning. My name is Eva Hornung. I'm a librarian here in the city of Dublin. Thank you very much for inviting me to the keynote, and I'm very excited about this. So I hope you have a good day. I have a few slides I want to share with you. I know Barbara can forward them to you later on if you're interested. And of course, please get in touch if you have any questions, like something comes up maybe later on. We're thinking, I might just start with the presentation and then we have time for questions afterwards. Might be easier. Okay, so I'm trying to share my screen. Okay. Right. Okay, so thank you again for inviting me. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you, even just virtually. I hope your day is as lovely as here. We have beautiful sunshine, it's really warm, and it's a great day to be outdoors actually. So, as said before, my name is Eva Hornung. I'm originally from Germany, as you can hear, and I work in a solar librarian, as a solar librarian here in Ireland, in Dublin. And I want to just show you a couple of things that I've been doing for years, things I've been involved in, and hopefully you get some, tips and things that you can use for yourself. Right, so let's start. So these are the bits I want to talk about. First I want to kind of give you a very quick overview of why I'm here, why I'm a solar librarian. I want to talk a little bit about a research project I was involved in, which was basically the foundation for my PhD. I want to talk a little bit about what solar librarians or OPLs are doing in Ireland at the moment, what came out of research, kind of the findings and how this kind of fed into solar librarian work and professional development here. Then I have a couple of ideas I want to share with you, see how you feel about it, and I want to give you a little bit of hope at the end, because I know we live in really strange times and working as a solar librarian can be really, really tough. So, as said, a quick hello from me. I'm originally from a small town outside Stuttgart in the southwest of Germany, and I did my library degree there and got a job as a children's librarian, which is really great, in a public library just outside Stuttgart. And I worked there for a number of years, so I came from a very big public library with a lot of colleagues, a lot of resources. We had two branch libraries, so a big organization basically, to becoming a solo librarian or a one-person librarian when I moved to Ireland. So it was a big change, as you can imagine. It was a bit of a readjustment. I did my master's degree here at UCD in Dublin and applied then for a number of jobs. And the job that I got is the one that I have now. So as I said, moved from a big public library to a small kind of academic special library was a bit of a change, but a good change, I think. Okay, so my organization is called City of Dublin ETB. So ETB stands for Education.
We have a little difficulties with hearing you.
Okay.
Or understanding. Could you speak a little bit slower? Is it possible?
Move forward?
To speak slower.
Is that better?
To speak slowly. More slow.
Yes, better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I have a new PC and it's technology. I hope you can hear it. Is it better? A little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, right, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, just go back to my thing. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, oh sorry, no, too much, go back to the beginning, sorry. Okay, so City of Dublin ETB is basically a education and training authority for City of Dublin, which is obviously the capital and the biggest city in Ireland. We have about 3,000 staff, and most of them are full-time, a lot of, I'd say about a third of them are part-time, and they provide education and training options for a lot of people in Ireland, in Dublin. So we say about 34,000 people, but as you can imagine, it's kind of a fluid number. So we have people who have anything from primary school and up to adult education. Further education is our biggest part of our organisation. We look at organisational support for the prisons, so we provide educational support for the prisoners in all the Dublin prisons. We do work with asylum seekers, we work with young people, a project called Youth Reach, which looks at young people who leave school early and are a bit lost. So we do everything with also apprenticeships. So we have a pretty big organisation and we do a lot of stuff. And as part of the City of WTB, there's a place called the Curriculum Development Unit, which is a small unit with about maybe 20 people, and we provide CPD for the teachers and the tutors who work for the City of WTB. That's our main job, but we also work in quality assurance, which is a massive new part of our job. So my library, this picture of the library, very unorganized library, is a special library, as I said before, and I look after staff basically. So it's not for students, not for learners, but for people who work in the City of WTB. They're mainly teachers, the principals sometimes come to talk to me, and a few administrative staff, but it's mainly educational staff. So people work, as I said, in primary and post-primary schools, in adult education, in youth work, in prison education. But the main focus is third education, and I'll talk about that a bit. So I do information research services, which means everything and anything people might, want an obscure document from 1974 that they found somewhere, and it's not online, obviously. It's on paper, and they want me to find it. It could be people doing a master or PhD, and they need some resources to do sort of literature review. I do a fair bit of document supply because we're also part of Trinity College Dublin. So my unit is basically jointly managed by Trinity College and by City of WTB. So I have access to all of Trinity College's resources, and Trinity College is the biggest library, the university library in Ireland. So you can imagine there's a lot of information there. I also look after social media, more or less successfully. We moved away from what was known as Twitter. We're now Blue Sky, we have a LinkedIn presence, and we work a little bit on other platforms for, in conjunction with our communication officer here in the City of WTB. We have a Moodle site, which is a repository of resources for our teachers, and we have a website which is obviously available to the wider world. So I look after all of that. So, as I said before, coming from a big public library with a lot of resources, with a very supportive boss, to a small place where you have to find your own professional development activities, that led to a lot of frustration at the beginning, because I felt I had to learn a lot, but there was no support really from my manager at the time, who was not a librarian, obviously. So as I'm the only one, there's a lot of emphasis on teacher education and teacher professional development, but as a librarian, there's not always what I need, basically. So I was quite frustrated. I became a member of the Library Association of Ireland, and I talked to a lot of other librarians, especially other solo librarians, and they all shared the frustration that I felt, which was really interesting to see. So I was thinking, okay, what can I do? I don't have, I can't really get out of the library a lot to do professional development outside the library. I don't have a budget, so no money. Time is difficult, as you know yourself. When you want to go somewhere, you have to leave the library alone and if you close the library, and then people get frustrated. And the opportunities weren't really there to do any kind of professional development. So I thought, okay, maybe it could become a research project. So I applied to do a PhD, of all things, with the University of Sheffield in England. who were really, really good, and they're very experienced with having students who are, because I did part-time students, and people who are not based in England, because I continued working in Dublin. So they were really good. And my supervisor, big shout out to Sheila Weber, it was just the best supervisor ever. So she was really supportive of the project, and as such, everything fell into place then, and we embarked on a PhD job. So my research was about solo librarians, or one-person librarians, and their perceptions of CPD. Because what I found reading the literature was that people have very different ideas of what CPD really is, what professional development is. And I thought, okay, if we don't really agree on what it is, or we don't know what people feel it is, how can we provide professional development for people, or how can we even seek it out ourselves? So one-person librarians, or OPLs, have been rarely studied. That's true still. I mean, that resource was from, that reference was from 2003. Julie Cease said that, but it's true still. There's not much literature on that. But interestingly, she reckoned back then, and I think it's probably still true, probably even more so, 1 in 3 librarians in the world is a one-person librarian. So that is a huge amount of people, and for them not to get, the recognition that they should be getting is just, it's very shocking. So at the same time, CPD is central to our role as an information provider, obviously, because we all work in libraries, and this is what we do. There has been very little research into CPD for one-person librarians, and this is something I wanted to look at. There's a bit more happening that has happened since I finished my PhD, which is great, but at the time there was very little. So I just want to quickly talk about the research project because I want to talk about outcomes more, and I need to let you know why, what was the background about that. So I used a method called phenomenography, which is a qualitative research approach, and it looks at how people perceive of a phenomenon. This means basically any concept, any idea. People have different ideas about things because of the backgrounds, of their professional experience and personal experience. But the idea is that if you interview people and you compile all their answers, basically, you can categorize them into categories. So this is a very, very simple way of saying it. There's a lot to it, but I don't want to kind of bore you with details. So I basically looked at interviewing people, because interviews can obviously give a rich amount of data. So I traveled across Ireland for let's say about 9 months or so. I interviewed people in different locations, different types of libraries, but they were all one-person librarians. So there were people who worked completely on their own, or had maybe a clerical officer, administrative officer helping them. So those librarians were in academic libraries, public libraries, sometimes refurbished libraries, and smaller libraries here, solo operations. They worked in school libraries, I think I had a couple of people who worked in companies, law libraries, then one person worked in the mining company or something like that, so it was a very strange place. I didn't even know how to library. So it was a very kind of a great selection of libraries, really. Health science libraries, of course, as well, because very often in small health settings, they have only one librarian working there. So 2 questions. One was basically, what's your conception of CPD? Well, what's your understanding of CPD? And how do you experience different methods of CPD? And I want to share those in particular because I think that might be of interest to all of us now. So some of the results don't go into much detail, but just different ideas of what people had. So people had, as I said, all these answers could be basically grouped together and categorized. So one category where people were saying, I only upskill for the sake of my organization. Basically, the library service is why I do any kind of professional development, and that's the most important thing to me. I get very often these people got support from the manager, they got maybe some money to go to conference, but it was really focused on providing a good library service. Category 2 was, this is me as a professional librarian, basically. I could not be a librarian if I didn't do any kind of professional development, because education is crucial in our job. So they had very much a focus of being a professional. Category 3, people were saying, well, it's just basically I have to do any kind of professional development, because I have so many jobs as a one-person librarian. I'm so busy, I get things thrown at me all the time. I have to learn so many things, so many new skills all the time. So this is very much, because I'm a solo librarian, I have to do professional development. So the focus here was really on the status of this being a solo librarian. Category 4 was then, there was an interesting one where people were saying things like, well, my family and I went to a museum for, family payout, and I saw how the museum did the displays, and I was like, this is something that's really interesting. I can see how my kids like that. This is something I would like to try in my own library. So these were people who very much had personal experience of professional development, which very often had nothing to do with libraries or, in any shape or form, but they brought it back to their own setting to do things better. So there was a personal orientation to that. And the last category is basically the category where people felt, look, that's me as a human being, I need to learn all the time and I will never stop. So it's a lifelong learning orientation and a life right as well. So it's all aspects of my life, my personal life, my professional life, my social life, whatever. So CBD is basically who I am. So that's the main focus basically. So what did people actually say about what kind of activities work for them? So this nice image of David. Okay, so category 1, where people said, okay, it's all about library. They had a focus on very much on formal types of activities, so training courses, seminars, being involved in work committees, also professional academic degrees. So people very often said, oh, I have to go do another master's in this area because I need to focus on this. So there were also the informal things like internet tutorials and things like that on the job learning, but the formal part was very, very strong. And I felt, look, I need to do training and I get support from my manager for that. The second category where people said, this is really about me being a librarian. Very often informal activities were more important to them. Basically, talking to other librarians, being people showing things, job shadowing, that kind of stuff. Attending maybe a conference, but the networking aspect, the informal aspect was much more important. They very strongly felt strong about accreditation of professional development activities, which is something at the time we didn't really have in Ireland. I should say this, some of that obviously comes back to data collection back in 2008, 2009, so things have changed since. But back then people said, look, I need to have some sort of structure on my own CVD, but also because I need to report back to my manager, so I need to have some accreditation for that. Okay, so the OPL category, and number 3, people who felt very strongly that they were solo librarians, first of all and foremost, had a very strong emphasis on informal activities. So anything related to the internet, back then people did a lot of email lists, probably less so today, talking to database providers, really online journals in general activities, job activities. So basically, everything and anything, like magpies, kind of taking bits and pieces from everywhere and trying to get as much information as possible. So the informal aspect was very, very strong here. Then the personal one, as I said before, where people maybe went to the local museum and got information. Both were very strong, formal and informal, but again, the emphasis here was really on learning something outside the library world and bringing it back to the library. So that was really interesting as well, because they mentioned bits or types of activities that I never thought of, like, really going to a museum and see what they do, or to a gallery and see how they display things, so it's absolutely, there's a lot we can learn from them in libraries. And the last one was every opportunity to learn. I said that basically they felt really strong about CBD, and they were really strong on both activities, on both sides, the formal and the informal side of things. So formal were basically you get maybe a certificate at the end, informal were just read something. So they were really, really strong on every opportunity to learn. Okay, so what is happening? I just want to show you quickly what's happening for solos at the moment in libraries in Ireland. Then what has happened basically since that research project was finished, because obviously it's 15 years later, so a lot of things have happened. So one of the things we took on board, I was at the time a member of the academy, or I'm still a member, but I was on the committee of the academic and special libraries. So they are one of the subcommittee of the Library Association of Ireland. And we are the biggest group, I think we had about 500 members. And we also, one of the most active ones, in terms of events. I was, for a while, the chairperson of that group, so I could use a lot of the stuff that I learned from CBD, from the PhD, to influence what we were doing as a group as well. So one of the things that came out of the talking to the librarians was they felt really strongly about, well, I can't really leave the library on during the day, it's really difficult to get out, could you do something in the evenings? And because of the makeup of Ireland, most librarians really live, I would say, around Dublin, so it could be the city of Dublin, but also in Leinster, so that this is the area around on the east coast of Ireland. So they wouldn't be too far away from Dublin, maybe an hour or so on the train, or 2 hours maybe. So we said, okay, why don't we run an informal networking evening? We have loads of new services in libraries, or maybe an extension to a library, or a new library that's being created. We talk to colleagues there, see if you can get a tour, a chit chat, or maybe a little bit of information on it, and then go to a pub nearby. So if people can't come to the actual visit, they can join us in the pub afterwards. And needless to say, there was a big success from the first one we did. I think we were oversubscribed. So we've been running them for I'd say about 15 years now, maybe 20 years maybe. And they are really, really successful. They're mainly in Dublin, as I said, because it's just the makeup of the country. But we also had 1 or 2 in Cork and 1 in Galway, so in the south of Ireland and the west of Ireland. And we also work with other groups and sections of the Library Association. So there's a Western Ireland, Western regional group, so we have done activities with them as well. So for people who work in other parts of the country, they have something similar going on. As you can see here on the right hand side of the pictures, this is a new, very beautiful public library in Dunleary, which is just south of Dublin. And it's absolutely massive library, and it's beautiful. It's like, it looks like from the outside it looks like a ship. So it's right beside a harbour, and it's really, it's absolutely stunning. This is the children's library, as you can see. So we got a lovely tour in the evening when it was quiet. They showed us on the second picture, you can see my colleagues standing there taking pictures. Or they have a very cool book return system. It's all automatic and it's stunning, really. So we had a lovely talk. The librarian gave us a talk. We could walk around and see things, and then the informal networking afterwards, where people sit together and talk about things. I think this is really great because this is where a lot of new ideas come out and new collaborations come about as well. A lot of people on the right hand side picture are actually solo librarians, so they work in very different types of libraries, and for them it was absolutely amazing to meet other solo librarians because, as I said before, you work in a silo and you work in your own little, library. You very often don't get to talk to other people. So this was one thing that's very successful, and it's the money. Another activity came about, which we kind of, the idea we stole, I think, from the people in America who run an event called a LibCamp, which is not a conference, so it's an unconference, and it's basically a very informal gathering of librarians or of people, and they pitch ideas, talk about projects. So it's a bit like, if you're familiar with that, the Speaker Corner in the Hyde Park in London, where people basically stand on walks. I used to stand on walks and just talk about stuff that came into their head or important to them. So it's a bit like that. It's very informal. The only idea is that, or what you need to do as a participant is come along, gather around somebody, and we, as you can see on the right hand side, we have loads of post-its and posters. So basically just have ideas and we stick them together and we talk about a project. So very often it's at the beginning of the project, so let's say a library trying a new service, and they're not really sure about how to do it. They do something like that, and other people kind of pitch in and say, look, we've tried something similar before and this worked for us, or have you thought about X, Y, and Z? So it's really, really helpful for the person pitching the idea, but it's also nice for the other people because it's very interactive, and there's a lot a lot of crazy ideas being thrown around. The feedback from the audience is immediate, obviously, because people talk to you all the time, and most importantly, because it usually happens on Sunday, we have cake. So everybody brings something, and it's incredible. It's like a big cake bake-off. There's a lot of people become very ambitious, and so sometimes we have more cake than people, basically. So there's a lot of sugar going on. So it's great. It's a great activity, and because it's on Saturday, it helps people who work with smaller libraries who usually work Monday to Friday that they can come along as well. We have it in a place, in different places, but they're always very central. So if people come up from other places, if they come from take a train in the morning, we start maybe at 11 o'clock, so people can have time to commute, and then we finish maybe around 3 o'clock. So if people want to stay on, we go for a meal or something, or they can go home then. So it's very informal, it's great fun, and I can all recommend it. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, some people felt very strong about official recognition of CPD. The library station has been running professional, they're not degrees, they're basically recognition of professional development. This has been going on for a long time, but for a while it was a bit dormant, there wasn't much activity. So as a result of the PhD, really, I think to a certain extent, people became more aware of that this is actually already here, and we can maybe expand on it and make it a bit more visible for people. So we have 3 levels. One is called the associateship, then there's a new qualification called senior associateship, and the fellowship. And it basically shows a commitment, active commitment to CPD and the profession. It recognizes professional practice, and the most important thing for me is that it comes from your peers, so it comes from other librarians. We have a mentor scheme, so if somebody wants to apply for that, they have to write a little statement. It's not long, I think it's only about 500 words or so, and they have to provide evidence of the professional development, so they have to, for example, if they have attended something where they got a certificate in the end, they have to add this to the application and say, look, I attended a webinar on AI or whatever, and here's my certificate. So the important thing about this is, in order to get it, you have to reflect on your professional development and on how you impact on the profession. And I think that part is really good for solo librarians in particular, because if you don't have the support of your manager, or you don't have a big library where you get a lot of opportunities to do professional development, this is something where you can really come back to and say, reflect and say, look, I don't have the money to go to all these conferences, but I have attended those online webinars, they were free. I met another librarian and shadowed them for a day, that was free, so it's up to you to show what you've learned basically and how you did it. So it's really about stepping back and reflecting on your own practice and on your own professional development. As I said, we have mentors available, so if you're not sure of how to do it, you can reach out to people. That's really nice. Actually, we've got loads of applications over the years, and that has really taken off, which is really nice. And at our AGM each year, we kind of celebrate the people who got one of those qualifications, and they get a lovely search and photos, and so it's really, really nice to see that. Okay, so this is one thing, and the last thing I want to show you is, I'll talk to you about is, we had a conference this year in March, and one of the presenters is a solo librarian who works in, I think in Galway, and he said that people working in health libraries in Galway, very often they are like one-person librarians or working in a small library, they have started an informal network of solo librarians. And he talked about it, and he was very enthusiastic about it, and I was enthusiastic about it as well. So we hope to really expand it throughout Ireland and to other types of libraries. So I would love to be part of that new group. And I mean, the good thing now with new technologies now we can meet online. We don't have to meet in person all the time. So we could even have informal, I don't know, coffee morning or something where everybody has their own cup of coffee and we just talk about stuff. And then maybe meet once or so in a year to exchange information. I think this will be a very, very powerful new initiative. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is hope, because I know things are a bit mad at the moment in the world, and there's a lot of facts and uncertainties at the moment, but this is something I want to share with you because I was really, really happy about that. They did a survey on professions and how people feel about different professions, and especially about, do you think people will tell me the truth? How trustworthy are people, let's say? And librarians come up number 3, so I'm very delighted we're even better than doctors and engineers, so there you go, and judges. So this is, I think, is very positive, and it's nice to see that people still trust us, and hopefully this won't change. Okay, so the last bit is just back to you basically. So things I feel you could possibly do. I'm sure you do a lot of it already because I know you're very active association as well. So one thing I learned over the years is networking is absolutely crucial. So it could be locally, nationally, internationally, and very often it's very informal. So it's not, it doesn't cost you anything. It's not a massive amount of time involved. It's just when you need to have people around you. You could host or join a local meetup. That's happening in Ireland a bit, where people kind of just informally have a local event in the library and invite other librarians to that. So there could be a bigger library inviting, just saying, look, folks, everybody lives in, let's say, Galway. We have a Wednesday morning, coffee morning, just pop in and chat about stuff. So that's very, very nice to see, and it's very, very informal. There's an email list for solo librarians. It's still active, so one few probably, but you need a Gmail account for that. You Google solo librarians and it should come up, and you just need to register for that, and that's working. They're still active. It's a nice email list because you only get emails maybe once a month. It's really handy if you're looking for resources yourself. You can just send an email out and say, look, folks, I'm looking for this article. And somebody has it, in the world, so it's really good. It's a very international group, which is really nice. People from really all over the planet, which is really nice. So you get great feedback if you need any kind of resources or any kind of information. There are a lot of free webinars, which I'm sure you all know about. Ones I found really helpful are IFLA, with the umbrella body, and the CLIGA as well, which is a European organization, and they have loads of webinars, and they compile webinars of other organizations as well, so that's a really good website. And all of them are free, or most of them, I think all of them are free. Micro-credentials are obviously becoming much more important now. There's loads actually around, and I find it quite helpful, because sometimes you just need a little bit of an update on something, and you don't want to do a full course. You just maybe want to do one module to learn something new. I use YouTube, LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn Learning here, which I use a fair bit. And YouTube is really good actually for any kind of training you need. A lot of it is actually, might not be the best quality, but if you need, a lot of it actually comes from librarians as well, so there's a lot of high quality stuff there as well. On the right hand side, I just showed two pictures, two screenshots. One is our academic and special libraries section that I was talking about earlier. Now we are on YouTube as well. We're on, I think we have Flickr still. So a lot of the stuff that we do, everything is online. Like we record our sessions and conferences, so you can listen to that online later on. And if you don't do subscriptions, it's a website, so you can just talk in and see very interesting speeches from people over the years. So it's really, really good to see. And the second bit here down there is my colleague Laura Woody Ferris, who is a fabulous librarian, and she does a really great podcast where she interviews librarians in Ireland and further afield about their life, about their careers, and it's really interesting to listen to stuff. So if you want to listen to it, that's on all kind of podcast platforms. I think this one is SoundCloud, I'm not sure. So you can find her, and it's free again, so you can, if you want to know what's happening. And okay, so another couple of free sources, and then we finished. One is a video, so that's on YouTube. So there's, as I said, there's loads of videos on YouTube. This is just basically, it's a bit of advertising, I think, from Softlink, but it's nice to see somebody who's actually talking about solos for change. So there's loads of other YouTube videos obviously available. The Wikipedia entries on one-person libraries, that's interesting if you want to just go to Wikipedia and go for one person library, is the history of solar librarians in general and the research around solar librarians, because it's not, as I said, we've been around for a long time, but the research on solar librarians is quite sparse still. Okay, and some books. These are kind of newish books on solar librarians and one-person libraries. They're all really, really good. The 2024 book I haven't read yet, but it looks really good. I've bought it. And it gives you maybe some ideas if you're struggling yourself, if you don't know, if you're maybe new to being working in a small library. These are quite some good resources. And this is a reference for me. I have two articles I want to share with you if you want. And I thought into PowerPoint, maybe you can read up on it. So basically, a lot of the stuff I talked about is actually in this in this article. So thank you. That's just me quickly, and I hope it wasn't too bad. I hope you could hear me. Just
Thank you, Eva.
Yeah,
It was very inspiring.
Okay. So I know the sound is not particularly good.
Yeah, can you hear us? Yeah. So kakšno vprašanje iz publike? Yeah, Barbara.
Eva,
I
hi.
have a question from the audience.
Eva, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, perfect. So a question back to your PhD. When you were talking to solo librarians and you kind of try to understand how they are developing in their professional settings, what are your takes on what makes or breaks the professional development of a solo librarian?
That's good. Very good question. That was personal experience. To be honest, I think if you're working as a solo librarian, you need to be prepared to. You have to have a bit of a thick skin. I think you need to be prepared to, fight your case a lot. So one thing that makes you, I think, is if you are somebody who's willing to learn a lot, willing to network a lot with other people, not just other librarians, but people in your organization. Like in my organization, would be all teachers or many teachers. So I think you have to be curious. That's the first thing. But I think that's good for librarians in general. If you're a curious person, that's a good thing. You need to be able to network, but then again, I think librarians are pretty good at networking, usually, anyway. But breaks a person, I'd say, if it's overload, if it's too much, if the workload is too big and you can't cope with it. But then I think you need to, before that happens, you need to probably talk to people and say, look, there's only so much I can do, I'm on my own. Here are the 2 or 3 services I can provide realistically. Anything else, I need to drop something. And I think you need to be honest with your manager as well and say, look, this is not sustainable, I can't do this. Most people, the people I know who are solo librarians in Ireland at the moment have been for quite a long time, which tells me something as well. It means obviously that they enjoy being solo librarians. To be honest with you, I don't think I could work with big library anymore because I like to be, in a way, I like to be my own boss. In a way, I like to try out new things and see how it works. Because if it works well, it's great. If it doesn't work well, I get immediate feedback from people and tell me, look, this was absolute a disaster. But it's good, then you know and you learn. So I think you need to be resilient, possibly, because you need to be good at finding new ways of doing things. Because if you don't have somebody beside you who works in the same role, basically, or let's say you're a subject librarian and another subject librarian sits the desk beside you, you can ask them questions, which I can't really. So I need to think about, okay, I have this, especially with technology, I have this problem. Who can I ring? Oh, I ring David because David knows all about IT. So I know who to talk to. I wouldn't say you were born to be a solo librarian, but I think it helps if you are a bit. I think if you have an open personality, I think that helps them. If you're not afraid to make mistakes and not afraid to ask for help as well. So that's my 5 cents.
And I have a follow-up, obviously.
Yeah.
You said that your PhD was kind of answer to your frustration of becoming a solo librarian, so to speak. Did it help? Like, did it cure your frustration?
Yes, it did. I think it did, yeah. And the funny thing is, of the 30 people I interviewed, I'm still in touch with, let's say, about 20. And some of them have become personal friends now, which is really nice, you know, so it's a completely different outcome, wasn't expected at all. No, it definitely, and it helped me, I think it helped me see my own work better and my own perceptions better and to see, okay, I don't really need to have, I know I can't go to this big conference I'd love to go to, which is 3 days and costs €1,000 or something to go to. I can't, that's okay. But they do, let's say the keynote is online for free, or some of the talks are free. I can do that. But I only learned it by talking to other librarians, you know, because sometimes you set in your own rates. So I think I learned a lot from these librarians, and also just to see how they've managed their own collections. For example, mine is nothing I do actually is read online. I still, mine is all paper-based still. But there's a couple of things that we want might be digitized over maybe the next year or so. So having somebody being able to go back and say, okay, I remember that librarian said that, oh yeah, I talk to her and see, can she recommend how to do this? Is it a big project? How do I tackle it? I have no idea. What do I need in technology? What do I need in terms of finance maybe? So it's I think from that point of view, it's great because you become part of a bigger network and you realize you're not on your own. You work on your own in your respective organization, but you're not on your own at all. You're part of a bigger network, and so the frustration is gone. Yes, thank you. Definitely as well. I'd like to have a budget still. It would be nice to have more money, obviously, everybody. But I know now that I can do things differently and in a very in an easy way. There's no. Sometimes you think you're too complicated in your head, and you're like, oh God, I can't. And then somebody else says, why don't you do this? And it's like, oh, smart, very, very clever. So it's very often it's just a question of, it's just reaching out to people. So this is one thing I learned is that just don't be afraid to ask for help, really. So and it's good against the frustration bit as well. So yeah, it's definitely not benefiting.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Še kakšno vprašanje? Lahko tudi v slovenskem jeziku, pa potem prevedemo.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm just asking the audience if they have any questions. No. Okay, thank you so much, Eva.
Okay, sorry guys, I hope it was okay. I'll send you some of the slides as well, and if somebody wants to read up, or just email me, no problem.
Yes, thank you. It's very inspiring.
Listen, I hope you have a lovely day and you learn a lot today and you have time to network and have a nice cup of coffee and a nice lunch and talk to your colleagues.
The most important part is our gathering. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.